Our comment on Americana and
And
whatever
we're
else.
live.
Yes, we are. We're live in
And Vinnie,
freezing cold Seattle.
I have news for you.
Okay, we are a news talk show, so it's probably a good idea that you have something.
Filing all my comments today under Americana observations. I announced that Pea Soup Anderson's is closed.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Oh, boy. That's going to leave some people in a lurch.
What are they going to do when they get to Buellton? They can't stop. There's nothing there besides what used to be Pea Soup Anderson's.
Isn't there like a gas station? I mean, first of all, why did they close?
They're going to, they said, close their locations and theoretically rebuild them and then maybe reopen them. But they're probably going to turn them into Whole Foods or something.
Wow. That's a tradition, man. If you've ever driven from Northern California to Southern California on I-5,
Nothing you can do but see the billboards.
the billboards and the signs, it was the California version of south of the border.
And do you know the two pea soup makers? Can you remember their names?
Anderson?
Their last name was Anderson. Their first names were Hap Pea and Pee Wee. Pee Wee has to hold the device that they split the pea soup peas with, and Hap Pea swings the mallet. And Pee Wee's got bandages on his fingers, on his nose.
Well, I was thinking their name wasn't Gerdovich.
No, Madam Gerdovich is the manager. She's the one who pulled the plug.
I figured they had to be Andersons. So who is it? Wimpy and Snappy?
Hap Pea and
Happy
Pee Wee.
and Pee Wee.
Pee Wee has to hold the device that splits the peas, and Hap Pea is the one who swings the mallet that splits them. They split every pea individually, one at a time. And Tommy Tuberville never ate there, to the best of our knowledge.
And
yes.
Do they have any little peas?
They have widow ones, but they split them just the same. A little pea can't go into the soup unsplit. It must be split pea soup.
Yeah,
and it's split pea Anderson's instead of Anderson split pea.
So, what will the masses do for
What they didn't say is, will they continue canning it and selling it in stores? That I don't know.
Yeah, because you can buy it. I mean, it's so popular on the West Coast that you can go into most supermarkets, and I think they have it here at the Winco, and you can buy the split pea soup, but it doesn't come with the billboards.
And you don't know who split it. I mean, you have only their word that Happy and Pee Wee did the work. There's no way to know.
Happy and Pee Pee cannot.
Now, hold on. I mean, when Happy hits Pee Pee, what happens to his Pee Wee?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, man. I mean, and especially now that it's cold out. I mean, it's freezing all over the place. I would think that people would be wanting their pea soup.
They want that split pea soup, and they want it split scientifically, perfectly, and by hand.
Right? I don't need a machine to split my peas. I need Happy.
Come on, you'll get it. And not Pee Pee. It's not Pee Pee. Yes, Pee Wee.
That's who I want.
Now, Happy, his name is not Happy, as in Los Feliz. It is HAP apostrophe PEA. Hap P.
Michael.
Yep.
I'm. It's the disappearance of another incredible icon, roadside icon.
But Solvang and Buellton are still there. There's nothing we can do about that. Nothing we intend to do about it. We want them there. Otherwise, there's nothing to drive by between Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo. You've got to go to Solvang or Buellton at some time in your life. And by the way, if you go to Solvang or Buellton, you can get akavit. You might have some trouble getting tequila, but there's plenty of akavit.
Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of looking at the so the one. Which one is closing? All of them, or just the?
They're going to close all the locations.
Oh, so Buellton and Santanella. That's sad.
You remember when we signed off last time on the Morose Monday, now it's a wacky Wednesday. I gave you a headline from the LA Times with no story involved. A bowling alley, a boozy night, and the deputies of the sheriff's department form another gang. I never did read that story, but I have another headline for you that's worthy of the file, the Americana file, and it is lions, tigers, a monkey, and a bulletproof vest meet the exotic animals of Mexico. That's the headline in the LA Times this morning. Lions, tigers, a monkey, and a bulletproof vest meet the exotic animals of Mexico. Apparently, the exotic animal trade appealed to the people who run the cartels. They thought it would be nice to have a tiger for 5 minutes. It's after 5 minutes that it gets to be a bit of a challenge. The tiger seems to be hungry. Well, what do you want me to do? I don't want you to make any sudden moves.
You know who these are, right?
Yeah.
Pee-wee.
You think?
No, I know.
I think Pee-wee and Happy are selling lions and tigers and monkeys in bulletproof vests.
The Andersons in their restaurant way back in the 40s, I guess.
Those damn Andersons, they're in whatever town they're in.
Santanella, no?
So they're gonna close 2 locations in California and open a big exotic animal pea soup factory in Tegucigalpa.
Well, okay, so you have a new headline for us, and please repeat the headline because
lions, tigers, a monkey in a bulletproof vest meet the exotic animals of Mexico.
Our new immigration policy.
To a degree, yes. The monkey's going to build the wall, and the lions and tigers are going to make you pay for it.
You come over that wall, and this is who you're going to see.
In fact, wouldn't Americans be the least bit interested if a wall disappeared? Wouldn't we want to know what was on the other side? Of course we would. Texans would be crossing that wall by the handful.
Well,
by the way, the Texas governor has backed off on his comment that if it were legal, he would instruct his troops to shoot illegal aliens as they approach the great border of Texas.
I'm
not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. But if I could do it, I would do it.
I really wish somebody would roll that dude down a flight of stairs. I really had it with him. I don't give a crap. The only worst disabled person I ever met in my life or ever known in my life besides him is the guy that ran the bank in It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yes. And he was acting. This guy's not.
He was acting, yes. He wasn't really like that.
No.
Well, he may have been, but who was that? Edward? It
was Barrymore.
Oh, it's Lionel Barrymore.
Yep.
Lionel Barrymore, who has a wonderful, I guess, great-granddaughter.
Yep. And she's had a wonderful life.
She's had a wonderful life. She's been a Charlie's Angel. She's actually a fairly good talk show host. A little fluffy for me, but
we're talking about Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore, yeah. In lieu of Ellen, the world needed something. I don't understand. Well, I guess you don't have to be. I don't know. Why do you even say things like that?
Why couldn't a man like that even pretend to have compassion? can pretend to
Well, why
understand the
couldn't any
problem.
man? Never mind that he's disabled or not. But you would think that because he sits in a wheelchair, because he's been through some rough things in his life, that he would have some kind of compassion.
Some sort of understanding of suffering.
Yeah, see, that always gets me and especially the religious zealots, the evangelists, they're always talking about Jesus and this and that, and they don't understand that Jesus came to be Jesus because of his suffering and because he had compassion for people that suffered.
And because he was the Son of God with omniscient, unlimited powers, he couldn't get away from 20 Romans when it counted.
Well, yeah, but let's suppose for a second.
They caught him unaware.
Let's suppose for a second that this man Jesus that they worship was not the Son of God.
I mean, he was
He
just
was
just a
just a
Jewish carpenter.
regular guy.
How
He
many
was a
Jewish
rock
carpenters do
star,
you know? Okay.
but yet he had compassion enough. Now, I'm not saying that he wasn't the Son of God, but I'm saying, but let's suppose for a second that he wasn't. He was just a plain old handsome rock star.
There was a mistake at the factory, and he was all he knew was 3 great chords and 3 great songs.
Okay. But he demonstrated through all the suffering he had to endure because of whatever was going on in that afternoon in that part of the world, that he didn't turn it on people as hate. He turned it on people as love. That you have to understand. You have to. Why don't these clowns that preach his word? Why don't these people that so hide behind the cloth of religion ever? They seem to be the meanest people in the world.
Christians are the meanest people in the world, the evangelistas. You probably saw some of the returns from Iowa during the caucuses. And the 2 counties up in the north were right next to one another. One of them was the most religious county where people go to church. One was the most religious county where people don't go to church. Now, there's a war ready to brew. You get Christians who go to church and Christians who don't go to church. The most religious of both varieties living in adjacent counties. The Lord won't tolerate that sort of thing. The Lord will start speaking to those people, and it won't be long before the Lord will have them at each other's throats and attacking the center of town with garden implements. It won't be long, Ben, because it's the end of times and the suffering here on the planet, and 5 other things that the evangelistas believe that nobody else can quite understand. And the whole state of Iowa apparently is twisted, and their knickers are in a evangelista twist. That's a good song, by the way. Gary U.S. Bond should do that one. Dear Lady Evangelista Twist.
Your knickers are in a twist. Why are you so pissed? Oh, Iowa. Oh, Iowa.
That's a damn hit. I know 2 counties where that's going to sell.
Oh, Iowa. Oh, Iowa. You ain't heaven anymore.
You know who was? I just saw a documentary last night about Meredith Willson, who was the son of Mason City, Iowa, and his success around the world as a songwriter, band leader, flute player, composer for the Broadway stage was a fascinating one. He just kept exceeding at everything he did, and he was quite a proud son of Iowa. Never forgot about it. Never for a moment set aside his love for Iowa and used it as inspiration for all the work that he did.
Well, Iowa is I've always had decent experiences when I've gone to Iowa. I'm not going to say it's any place I'd like to live, although I will tell you that when I visited the Field of Dreams,
yeah,
and
someone took a pot shot at you.
This is many years ago. This is probably 97, something like that.
Did they have a row of corn for the outfield fence?
Yeah, they had the row of corn, but there were 2 people. Evidently, the Field of Dreams lot was not one farm.
I
It
hope
was
it
two
was two.
farms.
One went to church and one didn't.
And one went to church and one didn't. You're exactly right. So if you wanted to run the bases, everybody wants to do. I mean, what do you want to do when you go to the Field of Dreams? You want to run the bases and you want to have a catch with your dad or your daughter or your whatever. You had, you paid these people that had the farmhouse and
Right.
the diamond, the actual diamond was there. If you wanted to go through the corn rows and come out of the cornfield, you had to go pay somebody else. And there was an ongoing feud between the two people.
Of course.
So you had to pay. They had people stood out there and wouldn't let you park on this side of the road because it belonged to the Schnappenings there. You couldn't park on that side of the road. Now, the people that had the farmhouse were a lot nicer. They were like, come, have a lunch, go on your property, sit down, talk. Blah, blah. But the other people that had the cornfield were not as nice. I mean, they were having people towed that would park and walk over to the and you go there, you're not thinking about geopolitical crap and who's suing who and who's doing this and who's doing that. You're not thinking about that.
So one voted for Trump, one voted for DeSantis.
Well, I don't know who voted for. I guess I have since learned or read somewhere that somebody actually made everybody an offer that they couldn't refuse and bought both pieces of property. And that's why they can play the major league game there every year.
And so when the end result was we sold the property, we made a tidy sum, but we're still pissed off because we miss ruining the experience for the tourists when they get here.
Well, that was it. It actually did kind of ruin it. It actually did make you feel like you're in the middle of a. I mean, here you come, you drive all this way to Iowa to see this freaking Field of Dreams because you're a sap that watches this stuff on TV, and you figure you're going to see Ray Liotta or James Earl Jones out there sitting in the bleachers, or Burt Lancaster, or
Jimmy Pearsall,
Gabby Hoffman. Was that the little girl?
Boog Powell. There's Boog
Yeah.
Powell.
People, it's a shrine. I mean, it really is a place where people go and try to make contact
With the magic of baseball.
with the magic of baseball, but also in that way that we always talk about so much is that it brings back the memory of your dad or your grandfather or this person or that person, or your dad taking you to your first baseball game and you holding his hand, he's holding your hand and trying not to lose you in the crowd. And it was it was a tough experience. It really it rocked me a little bit because I expected that we were going to see a place of peace.
No.
And it was nothing but conflict. And I remember saying to my ex-wife as we were leaving, I was saying, man, this was a trip. I mean, we got to run, we got to run the bases. We ate lunch on the bleachers and talked to people. I enjoyed talking to a lot of people about it, kind of getting an idea of what was, why they came there.
What might be wrong? What do you think's wrong with Farmer Resnick that he's so angry? He's standing there with his pitchfork and his shotgun.
Well, I asked in the meter people's, the cornfield side. I asked the people, why, what's going on here? Knowing that I'm probably not the only person that ever asked them, why this is. Why is this place that's so special to so many people embroiled in
Petty
enough
grievances.
controversy? I mean, it was almost like the Middle East. And it really, it bothered me for a long time.
Of course.
It really did. It like really,
It's like going to Cooperstown and having it divided down the middle by two different companies.
yeah.
One wants you to stay, one wants you to go.
Yeah, and just the you expected to go there, and it was a shame because I can't imagine I was the only one that had this experience.
It happened to Happy and Pee Wee.
And I
Happy
can
was on the
imagine
good
how
side,
many
and
people,
Pee Wee was on the wrong side, and Happy was on the good side.
and I can't imagine how many people went there and just had the same feeling I did. Is here I did the best I could to come to a place of peace and serenity and evoke these great memories, even though it's all a fantasy. It's okay. Fantasies are good for people.
Sure.
It gets
Not,
you to forget about the bad stuff.
not for the Springers and the Resnicks. They didn't never figure it out.
Well, I guess somebody figured it out for him because, like I say, I believe that at some point either cooler heads prevailed or somebody just came in and made them an offer saying, "You're going to pay us $10 million for this land." See ya.
We're moving to Des Moines and getting a condo.
And we're gonna.
By the
And
way, you
we're,
know what Des Moines means? You know what the translation from
uh,
French?
the the soft spot. No,
The monks.
the monks.
Now, I want you to go to Des Moines next time you're there on your way to Field of Dreams to see the new improved ownership and find me one monk in that town. I don't care who he is. I don't care. It could be a female monk. It could be a monkette. It
Well,
could
we
be a
have a
baby monk.
here in Washington. I could go there and look
You could start there, but I want to know why Des Moines is called the monks.
because I'll bet you I can tell you without even looking that a French. Because if you remember back in those days, the French were the ones that had the northern part of the country.
They were getting ready to sell us the Louisiana Purchase.
Right. They reside. They had the whole top part of above the 45th parallel, whatever the parallel is, the 5440. I guess it was.
You know who bought the Louisiana Purchase on behalf of the French? Emperor Napoleon III, and he kept Mexico for himself, which was a mistake. He should have sold us that too. Turns out we could have used it for like states 51 through 55.
Well, yeah. Anyway, that got me off my train of thought. Anyway, the French, they were up there, and so they had, where you go south, and most of the stuff is names for Spanish. You go up north, and you start getting a lot of French names, like Paris. Is that how they say it? North Dakota, Paris?
Pierre.
No, they don't say it, Pierre.
What did they say? Paris?
Paris, Pierre, or Paris, or something like that.
Pierre's brother.
Now I'm gonna have to look.
Pierre's father.
Yeah, it's something weird. Pierre.
You know why they still speak French in Louisiana? Because the Catholic Church forbid them to speak it. It was the best way. If you want people to speak French, be sure to tell them that they can't, under pain of death. And so the Acadians, the Arcadians, still speak it. Because the church school said you may never speak French again.
Well, that was the only thing, always something. And I didn't know as much about this as I do now. But having gone to Catholic school, I understand it.
And you got out, apparently. It looks like you
Yeah.
made it. You made it without too many scars.
Yeah, I got out in the fourth grade, but the atrocities that were foisted on youth in some of these schools, these church schools,
On behalf of little baby Jesus.
yeah, on behalf of the guy who suffered. But again, we always have to remember, Mikey, that it's not. Jesus was somebody who lived for 33 years and tried to tell people to do the right thing, and not that many people listened.
They'd have listened to him if he had been a shortstop.
If
He
he
had the
were
wrong
Britney
job.
Spears or if he were Taylor Swift, they'd have listened.
Yep.
If Taylor Swift came out and said, "Stop the war tomorrow," in Israel,
They'd do it.
they'd stop it like they'd step on the brakes.
And Netanyahu said, "We're not stopping till we achieve our goals." I say we're not, and they just drag him away, and you never see him again.
Never see him again. And for those who are right now going, "Vinny, you don't know what the frick you're talking about."
Yeah, you
Let me
do.
just drop 2 words on you. John Lennon. Didn't happen in a day, but got enough people to start thinking about it.
War is over if you want it.
No, now we get songs. All I want for Christmas is you. That's what we get now. Don't care about babies dying. Don't care about the atrocities that are being foisted on people who are innocent.
That's because most of the modern songwriters don't have an opinion on anything except themselves. All I want is another hit song that has something to do with me.
Really, kind of sad.
You wrote a song because you think he said something about you? He did. In his last song, he said something about somebody, and I thought it was about me, so I had to write a song in response. And what was it? Don't talk to me. Don't talk about me in your song, it's called. But it's not about his song it's more about how I reacted to hearing it.
Don't play that song for me. Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Who was that?
What?
Who did that song?
Aretha Franklin.
Thank you.
That's a great song, man. I mean, every piece of that song was perfect. There was nothing in that song that didn't work.
You know what I used to play by Aretha on the city all the time was The House That Jack Built.
Oh, great song.
Great funky song.
This is the house that Jack built, y'all.
Y'all.
I got a house. I got a car. One of the coolest things.
You know, Jack is everywhere in music. People don't know Jack. People do the Jack ball on the Jack. Don't jack me around.
God. Aretha Franklin, man. We need more Aretha Franklin in this world.
There's only been one. Carolyn Franklin was pretty close, but she didn't have the high end that Aretha had. It was so effortless for her.
And we certainly, yeah, she just did it differently. I mean, we've certainly had great singers, great black female singers that could rip into a song like that and make it theirs and kill it.
Power, range, and versatility.
Yeah, just sit in the studio and just boom, bang it out. And then, of course, like Aretha, grab that purse, open it up, they put the money in there. I'm going home.
Little respect.
Did you ever see Aretha?
No.
I got to see her. When I was in Pittsburgh. They did the Cleveland Symphony, did a special tribute to Aretha Franklin.
And did she sing Nessun Dorma?
And she sang. and it was her, Miss Lauren Hill. I forget who else was there because it was all about Aretha. She came out on stage and she just killed it, man.
What I like about Aretha's live performances is Aretha Franklin live at the Fillmore with King Curtis backing her up. And she did a long, soulful, incredible version of Bridge Over Troubled Waters
Yeah.
that you cannot ignore in terms of its emotional quality. It's absolutely stunning and mystical, and it takes you on a whole trip. It takes you from here to Iowa to those two consecutive counties where people go to church and don't go to church. And when she's through with them, they're pals. They're hugging each other and saying, "We were such fools to let petty differences come between the Iowa farmer, churched and unchurched." Can you imagine going through life defining yourself as "I'm churched"? Well, why would you say that first thing out of their mouth? And he's unchurched. Well, we didn't even ask about that guy. I'm just giving you the lay of the land. You're in Iowa now, boy. Are you churched or are you unchurched? Because you're standing in the wrong place if you're unchurched. And it just makes you overcome with nausea. And they all voted for Trump.
I love, now you got me.
I said the magic word.
You got me, boy, you really got me now. Hey, did you want to hear anything about, I saw something on the internet, and I was wondering if you heard anything about it. You heard that, that Ray Davies got hurt?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah,
Ray Davies, the writer and the leader of the Kinks.
Yes, the writer and the leader of one of our favorite bands, the Kinks.
Raymond Douglas Davies.
And I hadn't searched it, but I saw it last night, and it said it was something about Ray Davies was shot in a mugging or something like that.
That was years ago in New Orleans.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that. And so I was like, and the way it was up there, it was like it happened yesterday. So it was clickbait.
Yeah.
Is what
he was on a tour, a writing tour. He wasn't performing. He was just getting inspiration, and he wanted to go to New Orleans. And he got inspired, all right. He got shot in the street.
Yeah, I bet you won't do that again, huh?
Not quite the same way, I wouldn't imagine.
Or at least with some bodyguards on.
And then his brother, Dave Davies, had a stroke, but he's better now, and I think they're playing together again.
Yeah, I would love that's a band that I would love to see before. I mean, I've seen them before, but I'd like to kind of go back and see them one more time. I'm waiting for this this thing to queue up here. All right, Mikey, this is for you, pal.
I don't hear anything.
All right.
This is a house that Jack built, y'all. Remember the South.
Remember the South.
It was the land that he worked by hand. It was the dream of an upright man. There was a room that was filled with love. It was a love that was proud. Remember the South.
Re.
I mean, there's as much energy in that song as there is in respect.
You can't have any more. She doesn't quite get to the high notes that she does in respect. Ow! Respect.
I think she does later in the song. I mean, we can't play the whole song because of copyright stuff, but I think she wait, there's it. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
But it's
I can barely hear that. It's cutting out a lot. I don't know why that happens. Why it cuts out when you play music.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's yeah, what a great song. I remember that song. What was that? 1970, I want to say.
Somewhere in there.
It had to be 70, 71, something like that, because I was still riding the bus to the beach. Because I can absolutely remember like it was yesterday, sitting in the back, coming home from Rockaway Beach. There was a bus we used to get on, a Q53. And
Q53.
Q53, Triborough Coach Company. And everybody on the bus was half drunk, full of sand. I mean, but it was the best way to get to Rockaway from Jackson Heights. And I remember somebody had what would have been the equivalent of a ghetto blaster in those
Oh
days.
yeah. Oh yeah. Big boombox.
And WAB, well, it wasn't a big one, but it was big enough that you could hear it in the bus. And so I was sitting on the back over the motor, which is the hottest part of the bus, and I'm just full of sand. The only thing I got is a pair of shorts, a t-shirt, and a towel. That's it.
You got
That's all
shoes
you
or
need
flip
to take to the
flops?
beach.
Flip flops.
Yeah, pair of. I think I had moccasins.
Ah.
Moccasins. And we're riding down Woodhaven Boulevard, and all of a sudden, this is the house that Jack built. Yo, comes on, man. And the whole bus is like rocking. I think the guy's having trouble holding the bus
I can't
because
stay in my lane.
it's jammed full of people. I mean, it has a total capacity of 53, and there's got to be 100 people on the bus. Got to be 100.
It
I
was
mean, you got people.
two for one day at Rockaway.
Everybody's sitting on everybody's lap, sitting on the engine compartment. In those days, nobody said anything. You got in the bus and you went. And I'll never forget that, man. Coming down Cross Bay Boulevard, Woodhaven Boulevard. I think it was Cross Bay, actually. Cross Bay turns into Woodhaven. Coming back from Rockaway, man. And the bus just freaking rocking, man. I mean, I got a house. I got a car. I got a house Jack built. House to Jack built.
Jack didn't build a lot of houses, but the houses that Jack did build were wonderful.
And I remember it like it was yesterday, man. I remember it was Dan Ingram.
Can't go
It was
wrong
on
there.
the air.
He knew. He
Dan
knew what he
Ingram,
was doing.
man. And he might as well just said, "That's for all you coming back from Rockaway."
Oh yeah.
Because Rockaway was kind of the poor man's beach.
What's it like now? There are no
It's
poor men
okay.
now.
Still, I mean, it's eroded. I mean, Hurricane Sandy screwed it up a lot, but it's still there.
Took the rock away.
They've done a lot of work on it. It used to have. Now it's got a lot of condos and stuff. It used to have. There was Rockaway's Playland, and it was it was like a resort. It was kind of like a really poor man's Wildwood or Asbury Park. And you used to go out there at night, or you'd go, to the beach during the day, and you'd stay and hang out in Hickey's and eat oysters or clams or something, and then stay at night and go hang out on the beach or hang out at Rockaway's Playland and pick up girls.
Same thing as Stinson Beach, except it was a little different, a little harder to get there. In fact, how do you get there? Well, go to the 2 a.m. club, take a left, and keep going.
Yeah, it was always very direct, and there was an extra added component to Cross Bay Boulevard that of course you had to go through Howard Beach, which was the Italian section out there, and where all the mafia guys lived, and then you had to go through Broad Channel, which was a throwback. In the 60s, it was a throwback to the 40s. Today, it's a throwback to the 60s.
Broad channel.
Broad channel. And in between Broad Channel and Howard Beach is about 5 miles of nothing. They call it now the Jamaica Bay Wildlife Preserve.
Are there Boyds out there?
And there are birds and everything, and it's almost next to Kennedy Airport,
Mm-hmm.
to give you an idea. But in those days, people used to go up Cross Bay Boulevard. They used to race out there.
Long straightaway.
Yeah, it had a long straightaway. And luckily, the Lord found it a wise thing, or the mayor.
Was this the good Lord or the slightly irascible Lord?
This might have been the slightly irascible Lord. Found it a good idea to put trees up.
Good idea. Only the Lord would think of that. Hardwood.
So you would inevitably, every weekend, you'd go out Cross Bay Boulevard, and there would be, at 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, some kind of horrific accident.
Jalopy meets tree.
Right, where somebody was doing 120 miles an hour and lost it and hit a tree or hit another car or and the cops used to take the cars that were mangled, and instead of taking them to the impound yard, I forget the police precinct that's right at the Cross Bay Bridge. As you go over into Rockaway, there's a police precinct right there, right as you go over the bridge. And they used to take the cars and they used to leave them there. They used to park them there. The people were killed in. Probably hoping that you would see this and it would, knock some sense into your head. I don't think it ever worked. But
did you ever see those horrific movies in high school where they would show?
Oh yeah. I just watched one of them the other night. What's the Ohio Highway Patrol? Not Blood Alley, but
Signal 40.
Yes.
What is Signal 40? Jalopy into a tree.
I swear, and it's just, they get the guy and his burnt, charred body is just.
It's good for you if you haven't got your license yet. It's good for you.
You know what, Michael? It's good for you if you have your license.
Especially if you're on that long straightaway to the Boyd Sanctuary.
Your license. I got to admit that after watching those movies, and I watched them, I went through probably a couple of days where I just, because on YouTube they just come up.
Oh yeah.
Signal 30, I think it is actually. They just come up on one after each other. And
one of the aspects of those movies is the wrong person is always the kid who needs to see it the most is not in class that day. He's out on the straightaway working on his carburetor.
Well, I can tell you that having driven a tow truck,
oh boy,
for many years, that I saw the live version of that show a few times. And it's not pretty. Some of the stuff I saw when I drove, because I used to drive a tow truck on the Parkway in New York.
Accidents at speed.
And almost always there was the smell of alcohol in the car.
Sure. I had an
Almost.
accident. No, that wasn't an accident. You were drunk and driving 90 miles an hour. That's not an accident. That's just stupidity.
Well, do you know that they've actually stopped calling? I don't know if you've noticed this, but in many media, they don't call them accidents anymore. They call them crashes because they're, in many instances, they're not accidents. Somebody's doing something stupid. They're on their phone. They're doing this. They're doing that. Anyway, not to get all morbid on everybody here, but
don't die in your car. There's another way. You could just slow down and get there 5 minutes later.
die at home.
Depending on where you think you're going.
Yeah, die at home in your bed. It's a lot easier. So, I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of things. Number one, I want to go back to Iowa for a second, even though I don't want to, but dig we must. So, what do you think it says? Is it peculiar to Iowa that Trump took 98 out of 99 counties? Or are we in for a hard time in this country?
If you look at the entire state of Iowa, the great state of Iowa, churched and unchurched, and just add them together, whether Jesus likes it or not, there was only 100,000 people involved in that election, that caucus. And so of those 100,000, the majority are a type of Christian that believes that Donald Trump is a prophet sent by God to lead us not out of bad times into good times, not to fix what's wrong and make it right, but to marshal us together to take it right in the chin for the end of days. What they have in mind is not the continuation of the United States or the better angels of our nature taking care of the future of our country. What they have in mind is the end of time. This is what they spend their time in church talking about. We could have a collection, but what's the point? The end of times is upon us.
We're not going to need money.
Let's take the collection anyway, and we could just keep it over at Tim's house. He's churched. And 70% of those people, there's 55% of all of those people still believe that the election was fixed, that Joe Biden is not our president, that Donald Trump is still president, but can't quite get back into they won't let him in the White House. Pretty soon they won't let him in the Trump plane. And he's that prince of religion, Donald Trump, is now in a courtroom in New York telling people that the person that he opposes in the hearing that they're working on today is a liar. And the people in the jury pool are in danger of putting themselves in jeopardy. Donald Trump will take his revenge on the churched and the unchurched, mind you. And the evangelicals are living in a world that they've created for themselves, in which Donald Trump is a prophet, not sent by Sears and Roebuck on order, but sent by God specifically to lead the United States right down the toity hole and into the end of times. So we can all go to heaven. And in heaven, it's divided in half. Those who were churched on earth and those who weren't churched on earth. And you fight in heaven for through the end of time over the same things you fought for in Iowa.
So do we worry about, I mean, there's a piece of me that just wants to say it's just those nuts in Iowa.
You know, the 49er tight end, George Kittle, he went to Iowa. That's what happens when you take a kid from Iowa and bring him to California. They grow their hair, they play football, they have a good time, they have a girlfriend. If he had stayed in Iowa, he'd be driving around in a 57 Chevy with a shotgun on the seat, looking for unchurched ne'er-do-wells.
Well, I gotta be honest with you, Michael. My experiences in Iowa were, besides the Field of Dreams, way before the Field of Dreams, were not pleasant experiences.
I don't doubt that for a minute.
Yeah, when I remember one time we were driving through Iowa coming back from California, and we stopped in Iowa City, the home of the University of Iowa.
Well, how'd they come up with that name is what I want to know.
I don't know. And it was like we were aliens. You know, it was almost, it was Utah-like.
You weren't welcome.
Yeah, you could tell that you weren't welcome.
And you know what? Nobody's welcome.
But
it just makes it easier. And then that was what, flying a gas station or something where people from all over the world stop to get gas.
No, actually,
go get your gas. You're not welcome.
We went into Iowa City to look around. We drove in. We got off I think it was Route 80, and we went into Iowa City to look around to go by the campus. I mean, we were young. We were 19 years old, 18 years old. I don't know. And because we always like to get off the freeway, the highway, and go into towns and talk to people and kind of get an idea of, what's going on here. We were, an easy rider. It was the age of easy rider. And it was truly, I remember my sister was with us on the trip, one of the most friendliest people you'll ever meet. And somebody remarked about like she had like a halter top on, and some asshole, said something to her, and we almost got into a fight with the guy, except that the guy was about 6'8", about pushing probably about 350.
Did he have lateral moves, do you think?
We thought it better not to get involved with him.
Yeah.
To just say, all right, let's go. We didn't want to wind up in jail in Iowa. And we knew if we were going to start with this guy, that the three of us, well, at least the two of us, were going to have to hit him because he wasn't going down with one. But it was just really one of the most unfriendliest.
And was that on the campus itself?
Near the campus, adjacent to the campus. So I don't think we went on the campus. I think we went to, there's like a plaza street not too far away. And I remember school was just like it was August. So it was hotter than hell, and school was like just back in session. And, everybody's running around getting their books and everything like that. And we just wanted to check it out. Just wanted to see. We always heard about Iowa.
And that was University of Iowa or Iowa State?
I think that was University of Iowa.
I must say that I've never been. I'm judging these people without ever having encountered them. But quite frankly, at my age and at my distance from Iowa, I don't give a shit if I ever get there. And I don't care about getting to know them on a personal level. But what I learned about them this week in terms of what they believe and what they want and what they clasp and dear to their breasts, let them have it. They can have the whole damn state. And you can have a county that's churched or unchurched. I don't care. And I don't even want to fly over your state anymore if we can possibly avoid it. Next time I fly to New York, I'll ask him, does this go over Iowa? Well, sort of. No, I'll have to rebook my trip.
Go around.
Can't you take the southern route?
This all begs the question, then, Michael, of what now?
Well, we're through with it now. I mean, the aberration that is Iowa's in the Iowa's in our rearview mirror. Next is New Hampshire, where we hope that the Lord keeps in mind that Donald Trump is not a prophet. He has not been sent here by a God. In fact, what kind of God would wait all this time and then only send Donald Trump? I mean, there's somebody with a sense of humor. We were waiting for the fire department. Yeah, I know you were. You called the fire department too, and that's really good. That's how you should have worked. But all I'm sending is Donald Trump. Is he a prophet? Yeah, sure, whatever. He's a prophet.
He's whatever you want him to be. He's every man.
He's a genius businessman. That's what we're saying today. So how 30% of our country has gone down the tube. When we thought it was all going to be the hippies in California who were going to lose their composure and erode society to the point where you couldn't recognize it, it turned out to be the farmers of Iowa that lost their mind. And one at a time, they believe what Donald Trump tells them to believe. And one at a time, they vote the way he tells them to, and they excuse his transgressions. They make up stories about what really happened if they don't like the truth, and they proceed daily. Now, these people are growing corn. So when you go into Trader Joe's and buy that yellow can that has never changed its label, just keep in mind where it comes from and who handled it last and what they had in mind before you open that can and eat the corn. Corn on the cob. Do you like corn on the cob?
Do I like corn on the cob?
Do you enjoy it?
I love it, especially barbecued with some salt and some butter
Butter.
and some
Oh, yeah.
cayenne pepper.
Yep. Well, keep in mind where it comes from. Now, you can probably buy corn that's not from Iowa. And if you can possibly avoid Iowa corn, I would do so, keeping in mind where it's been and what environment it grew in. And what the people who grew the corn believed about it. If they believe that about Donald Trump, what do they believe about corn? What do they believe about watering it? What do they believe about fertilizer or driving a tractor? Do they have an alternative opinion and thought process for everything that we hold dear? They've abandoned the truth. They've abandoned Christianity in favor of Trump, the prophet Trump. What else have they set aside in their interest to follow him to where? I don't know, some form of heaven that they imagine that they've sold themselves on. No, and who nobody wrote the book about Donald Trump the prophet. They came up with this on their own, and they cling to it every day.
Well, it's certainly going to be. This is not going to be an easy year.
Remember how during the plague years there were bands of people who would walk from town to town, dancing the whole time, flagellating themselves. They lost their minds. The whole idea of Europe dying because of the plague got to them, and there was no basis for stability, nothing to believe in, nothing to save them. And so they would just wander from town to town, dancing in the streets and dying when they had time. Well, for some reason, the plague of Donald Trump brought us a new group of people, and they turned out to be the innocent Christian believing farmers of Iowa and thereabouts who have come to the conclusion that Donald Trump is a prophet sent by God to get them out of this mess. And it is that set of beliefs and the person that they believe in that have damned them to the loss of their minds, the loss of their stability, the loss of their ability to tell lies from truth, the loss of the stability of their communities. And they're happy with it. There's people in Wenatchee right now who feel the same way, walking down the street, thinking about the prophet Trump and what he has planned for them today. What does he want them to do? What does he want them to say? How does he want them to live? What does he want them to believe? What about education? What about the mathematic tables? Are you still going to learn your multiplication tables? Or does the Trump prophet say you don't have to? We're not going to have multiplication in the future. No one can multiply in the future. You can add, and you can add a lot. But for the most part, there'll be no more multiplying. And that's just the beginning. Wait till I get a hold of history. Wait till I get a hold of the history books. I'm a prophet. I was sent by God. And I'm not a placeholder. I'm the real deal.
It's going to be a tough year, Michael. I hope that New Hampshire turns it around a bit and maybe makes it. I don't know. It used to be fun to watch these presidential elections. Now it's nothing but scary.
Well, there's one thing that you can have fun watching, and that is Nikki Haley's hand gestures, because as I've mentioned before, they seem to be slightly inhuman. They have nothing to do with what she's saying. She's gesturing the whole time she speaks, but the gestures have
You have a
no.
thing for Nikki Haley's hand gestures, don't you?
I watched her with the sound down, and I said something is wrong with this woman, and I don't know if we're ever going to be able to fix it.
No, probably
I
not.
don't think she's going to get the hang of it.
I don't know if I can imagine her giving the State of the Union address.
Nikki Haley and Pat McAfee, the only thing they have in common are their hand gestures. They are unnatural. They're distracting, and they seem to be slightly unhuman. If you want to know where the UFOs have been landing, I'd say Pat McAfee's house and Nikki Haley's backyard.
Well, Michael, I have some good news for you before we.
Ray Davies is okay.
Well, I didn't look, but I'm supposing he is, since that story is old. There's a new law in California.
There always is.
Yes. That says now that you must park, and I don't even know if you know this yet or not, that you must park 20 feet away from a crosswalk.
Okay. Couldn't they
So
just
I
paint
was-
the curb to make that easy?
What?
Couldn't they just paint the curb to make that easy?
Well, they're saying that they're not going to paint the curbs, that you're going to have to know the law.
Oh, you're going to have to know what 20 feet looks like.
You're going to have to know what 20 feet looks like. And of course, for men, that's almost impossible.
About 19 feet. Will 19 feet do it? I'll do you 19 feet if you let me park here. Nope.
They're issuing warnings now, but they're ready to go with tickets in the not too distant future.
Well, here's the law that we do need. If the car is operating by itself with no driver, totally automatic, and it creates an infraction, a traffic infraction, or is involved in an accident, because there's no driver, there is no one of responsibility to be ticketed or arrested or cited. Driverless cars have no laws that apply to them.
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah,
Not in California.
because you have to have somebody in the car, don't you?
Well, they're testing these driverless cars that are doing deliveries with nobody in the car, just the pizza.
Yeah. I don't know. I like that.
Car pulls up to your house with nobody driving, and the pizza just sits there till you have to go out.
You go down and get it. Who do you tip?
Nobody is in the car, so they can't honk the horn. You have to be on the watch. And if that car runs a red light and causes a 3-car accident, even the registered owner of that car is not liable in California.
Yeah, see, I would have to look at that, because I would have to believe that somebody's liable. They have to have some kind of liability if you're operating a motor vehicle, whether you're driving it or you're operating it, because somebody is operating the vehicle.
Jimmy's Hardware delivering an adjustable wrench to your house. He gets the wrench, he drives home, he has a 3-car accident, and Jimmy's Hardware should be responsible.
Right. If he's at fault, yeah. I have to ask my sister about that. She does insurance, so she'll know about that. All right, Mikey.
All right, Vinnie.
All right, Mikey.
And remember, lions, tigers, and a monkey and a bulletproof vest. Welcome to the exotic pets of Mexico.
And Pee-wee
and Happy.
And Happy.
Happy was the big guy. Pee-wee's a little guy with the bandages all over his hands and fingers.
There's so many ways to go there.
I know. But those peas aren't going to split themselves. Happy and Pee-wee still have work to do.
No, I better not say it. All right.
These are the things that come to you on Highway 101 in the middle of the day.
I've been up and down that road a few times, and I don't have. I've had some strange thoughts on that road.
Let's just pull over at Grover Beach and go no further. Well, all right.
Just stop right here. All right, I'll catch up with you on Friday if the Lord's willing. The creek don't rise.
Freaky Friday. See you then, Van.
All right, Mikey. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
Bye.
Bye.